Okay, I'm going to take you through kind of some common issues on a Kubota L35. These machines really don't have many issues at all, but every machine has its common issues. And I would say on this one, on the L35s, the biggest issue that you'll find is that they'll rust. You know, some of the machines, especially if you're in a salty part of the world where you have salt from the ocean, or you're near an area that has a lot of salt in the ground, they rust out a little bit in the fenders, in the rear fenders perhaps, and like around the backhoe and on the floor especially. That's one real common issue. Another common issue is the glow plug module, which controls the glow plugs. So if you have a situation where your glow plugs are stuck on all the time, there's a module that plugs into the harness behind the dash. It's about $80-90 module. It's not much, but that's actually the module that controls when the glow plug should come on, how long they stay on, and when they go off. So if you've got a glow plug light that's on and it's kind of always on, it's probably that module behind the dash, and that's a good place to start. The other issue on these sometimes you see is the seats are broken. The seats, the way they're designed, they're supposed to be an easy to use seat, but unless you fully understand how to use the seat, there's nothing easy about it because you don't know which lever to push in or to pull out on the lever. So there is a video I did on my Kubota L35 channel, on that playlist, that talks about proper usage of the seat base itself. I'm not going to cover that here, but that is a very common issue. The seat base will become either broken, from a spring perspective, or a spring torsion bar perspective, or a lever perspective. So any one of those three things will happen if you don't know how to use the seat, and you tend to force it over time, it'll just break. That's a real common issue, is the seats on these. Some other things that are common is they have a lot of safety switches, little tiny safety switches that are mechanical, electrical switches, I'll call them. And they're simply open or closed. And what they do is they provide all the safety point mechanisms. So for example, the PTO lever has a safety switch on it. If it's open, you can't start the machine. The forward and reverser lever has a safety switch on it. If it's in forward or reverse, you can't start the machine. There's those safety switches. They tend to work pretty good, but if they fail, you need to replace the switch. So most people end up bypassing the safety switch altogether once that happens. But those are real common points of failure, especially the PTO lever. When you have that out and you push it back in, if it hasn't been used in a while, it may not work properly. That safety switch could fail at that point. You won't really know why. You'll just have a no start, no turnover, no starter power at all type scenario, and that means that there's a safety switch that's overriding the starting ability of the machine, therefore providing a safety over over the person who's operating it. They don't want to get that person hurt, obviously, but that's what's happening. It's a real common thing on these, and a simple fix, but that's real common as well. That's pretty much it at a high level. I would say the other thing that's really common on these is the factory work lights. The way the factory work lights are set up is they have a mechanical switch inside that work light assembly, and it's really designed really well, and it's really heavy duty. However, if it gets corroded in there, that mechanical switch, the contacts won't work properly, and or the switch becomes seized. You can't turn the work lights on, right? And that is a real common thing. So you'll see all my machines, I always upgrade the lighting to LED lighting anyways, but those older, they were like halogen bulbed automotive style lights, and they had the mechanical switch inside of them. Those are really prone to failure. Other than that, there's really nothing that fails on these, and I know that sounds like a long list, but I'm being kind of exhaustive and picky, but there's nothing that fails on these. I love these machines. They are bulletproof. You can run these machines all day long, and they're barely breathing. They run really cool. They don't run hot at all, and they are just perfect machines for what size it is. They're about 6,000 pounds and 35 horsepower, so it's a perfect horsepower to weight ratio. And the transmissions, the glide shift transmissions, are bulletproof. They do not break. They are like indestructible. The frame, the steel on these is just amazing. So I know I'm talking about you know, things that break on these, but honestly, there's nothing major that's ever going to break on this machine, and those things I listed are relatively small in my mind. So that's my list of things to watch out for and to check when you buy one. The big thing is rust. You know, if you have a machine that's completely rusted out on the floor area and the wheel wells in the back, you're just going to have to do some work to fix that, but not really a showstopper because you can fix that as well pretty easily.